Welcome to my podcast, Today's Dream, Tomorrow's Reality. My name is Vicki Poole. I'm a master transformational coach and hypnotist specializing in habit change. And this podcast is sponsored by the Enlightened Peach. And it's all about embracing our mosaic life. And some of you may ask, what is a mosaic life anyway? Well, it's recognizing that all the pieces of our life, the good, the bad, the indifferent, have all come together to make us who we are. Change any one thing, and we are different. With that in mind, I invite you to embrace your perceived imperfections and celebrate who you are. This podcast is unedited and raw, just like life. And I am your host, and I have a special guest that I've had on before, and I'm so excited to have her again. But before I introduce her to you, I would love for you to do me a solid, and that is to leave a comment, ask a question, and then remember to like, subscribe, and share. So now let's get started. So I'm super excited, Mikkel, to have you here again. For those that are listening or watching, this is Mikkel Leslie. And she has been on my podcast before. And she was, because I asked her before, because I was so curious. She was a human design expert. And it was like, I want to know this so much. So she actually did a live human design reading for me on the podcast. So you can go back and you can find that. And I'll see if I can maybe get a link and put it in here somehow. I'll figure it out. But it was amazing. And then I keep seeing her popping in, and she disappeared for a short period of time. And I thought, where the hell did she go? And it's because she had so many things that were cooking behind the scenes. And so I reached out and said, hey, I see all this amazing stuff you got going on. You need to come over, sit on my sofa again, so to speak, and let's have a conversation. I want to hear what you're up to. So go ahead, Mikkel, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. I think it's going to be exciting to talk about everything that I have in the works. Because as you mentioned, about 2 weeks ago, I took a week off to go to Mexico for a retreat. And that was incredible and life-changing in so many things. And it's been an integration process to come back. There's been posts within the group of the retreat being like, I don't know what to do. I'm feeling terrible coming back. And we're all like, yeah, we did too. So it's been an integration period to come back into it and figure out what's in alignment and what's not, and have such a different view of my life and what I'm doing now, and more acceptance on my path too. Mm-hmm. So that's been really cool.
Yeah. So where was the retreat?
It was in Cancun, Mexico. I'm based out of there.
Okay. So was it a plant medicine retreat?
No, it was not. It was actually a Joe Dispenza advanced retreat.
Oh man, I've wanted to go see Joe Dispenza so many times. Oh, yeah. Heaven's sakes, I am so envious.
Yeah, it was incredible, because I've been wanting to go for years as well. 3 years ago, actually, I emailed them, and there was a wait list for the Denver one. It's like, I'm gonna go, and then I didn't actually end up going. So it's been fun to just go and see it and experience it and walk into the room and be like, I'm here, I've done it. Yeah, that was incredible.
I bet the energy in that place was intense, right?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go, is because of the energy. Because I meditate, I've done the work, I've listened to his talks, I've done all of that. But to have everyone there be on the same page in a way, to understand and know the work and do the meditations and be deep into it, that was really cool. And I could feel the energy. And when I meditated, I could really feel it. And so it was quite the experience to be there.
I bet. So did you do, because I'm just going to ask, because I haven't been, like I said, I've wanted to so much, but I have not done it. So do they do just a group meditation where everybody's meditating? Oh, that sounds like heaven. The closest I've come to anything like that with the energy and all was I went and saw Abraham Hicks a couple of times. And, as soon as she starts bringing Abraham, you can almost, the hair on your arms will stand up and you can just feel that surge of the energy and everything. So I imagine with Joe Dispenza's group, it's probably that way from the beginning. It's not like it ebbs and flows in that same way.
It was interesting because as the week developed, people coming into the retreat, some people hadn't done the work beforehand, didn't do the meditations. So as the week progressed, you could really feel the energy more and more. And some of the kind of highlights from it were there were healings that we did throughout it all. And you could
Mhm.
really feel within the room and the space that energy being moved. You could hear it, you could feel it, you could feel
Wow.
your body shaking. Like there was so much energy that was being moved in those.
Uh, oh man, no, I've got to go. I've got to go. I will tell you.
Mhm.
I think he had a cruise, or am I remembering wrong? Maybe it wasn't a cruise. Maybe it was just a very obscure destination that he was going to. Maybe that was it. Because I know Abraham Hicks does the cruises and stuff. But it was like, as soon as I started reading some of the stuff and all the things that were going, it was like, oh, but I just at the time I could not only was it a lot of money, but it was the time and the travel and, away from my business and all that stuff. And I just couldn't justify it. But I'm thinking now maybe justification is right around the corner.
Oh yes, indeed. Yeah, it was well worth it for sure. And to see the transformation and like taking back what I have from it all too. It was interesting going into, I thought like meditation is like all serene and like lotus pose and things like that. But how Joe Dispenza teaches it and works with it, it's physical. You are moving energy. And so now I've taken that back. And I did a meditation right before I hopped on and it was like moving and being able to move
Ah,
that energy through me and really feel the changes and shifts that I want to create in my life. So it is such a different feeling coming back from it and being there too. It's a whirlwind for sure.
yeah, yeah, beautiful. So I know since we've met a few months ago, which when you just looked it up, we were actually recorded on April the 3rd. And like I said, I thought it'd been a lot longer than that because it seems like I've seen so much of your stuff and all these things that are happening. So seems like it would have been further away from there, but you've just been moving fast, I guess. Because since then you've written a book, right?
Yes, written and
Yeah.
published it. So it's out in the world now. It's called Soar by Living Your Life. It is a journey into yourself to really understand who you are and what you want. And it's been incredible to open up my eyes to what's going on around me too. I've seen a lot of individuals get into the online space, creating businesses, and a lot of individuals helping other business owners like grow their business and create it. And it's been very interesting to see that. And what I thought about actually going into the meditation was, we're doing the right things that we should be doing to make money, to make a business, to do all these things, but isn't in alignment with ourselves. And
Mhm.
that's really what I touch on with this book is really getting in alignment with yourself. Because if you're not in alignment, that money, those goals, that results are going to do nothing for you and you're still going to feel awful.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you're saying that one of the things it brings up is that I think when you're not in alignment, it's like there's never enough.
Yes.
So you keep looking for more and more and more and more. And it's not that you need more, even though you can share that more or whatever, but it's that since you're not fulfilling yourself, it's like you have an empty cup with a hole in the bottom and you keep pouring in, but it's not making any difference. And so I think there's nothing wrong with wanting more, nothing at all, as long as it is not just this hunger to fill a void that those external things are not going to take care of anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like eating junk food and not getting the nutrition that you need at the
Yeah.
end of the day. It tastes good. It feels good initially, but then it wears off really soon.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. That crash like crazy.
Mhm. Indeed.
So are you still doing the stuff with the human design?
A little bit, yeah. So I have it within my book. So that's actually the first part of the book, we'll say, is
Mhm.
all about human design, talking about your type, your profile, as well as your authority. So that you understand who you are within the book. And then that kind of builds on to then your worthiness and making sure that you feel worthy, and then what it is you want and getting after it. But the human design, I have my class online on my website as well as in the book now.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because one of the things I talked, because I have a group on Facebook. I don't know if you remember that, but this I do a daily affirmation and journal prompt live in the group. And this morning with our affirmation and journal prompt, it was about limiting beliefs.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I was talking to them about is that most of our limiting beliefs come back to the we don't deserve. And we're all the time looking for something that makes us feel more deserving. And so it's kind of this what is it? They say a double-edged sword kind of thing, because it's like you're grasping for something, and then in the grasping, you're pushing away, and you're just, you're not getting anywhere. And so I love that you've got that in the book, and I still need to order the book. I can't believe I haven't, but I definitely will. And so for anybody that's watching or listening, in the description, I will have the links to how to connect with Mikkel. I will have the links to her book and all of that stuff, so that you can easily access or access what she's doing, and take advantage of reading it. So how did you sit down and start writing the first part of the book? I mean, because it's a process, and I will say I'm writing a book now, and I can't remember if I was I know I was on the fence about writing one, but I'm writing it. And but there are days that it's like I get busy, and the one thing that doesn't get put in my list is the book. And
Mhm.
so how did you, or maybe you didn't have those issues, but everybody I've talked to had some. So how did you go through that space and create the ability to dive into what you wanted to say and make it happen?
Yeah, initially the concept on the book was perfectionism. And I talk a lot about perfectionism within the book. And so that was my starting basis of it all. But my thoughts and understanding and concepts were all like all over here and over there. And like organizing it was not possible. And that was a big problem for me because I wanted it to be organized. I wanted to be like, okay, first chapter, second chapter, and be able to write like that.
Yeah.
But that is not how it ended up or worked out at all. I just had to write and sit down and be like, okay, I'm gonna write, and this is what I'm gonna do. Whatever comes up, good, fine, whatever. And just dedicating that time to it. To be like, okay, I'm sitting down. I'm gonna try to make this as enjoyable as possible. So I try different areas, like sitting in my dining room table, going to a coffee shop, all these different things to keep me motivated. And there's actually a couple of writing groups that I joined to be able to help with that as well.
Okay.
And so that
Online
was
or in person?
online. Mhm.
Okay. So what was your favorite place where you felt like as soon as you got there, suddenly you had on your writer's cap and you were writing?
I wish there was an answer being like, yeah, this was the one thing, but it changed over
Oh,
time. It was like the
okay.
dining room table,
I
or it
was
was the
really
coffee
hoping.
shop. I know, right? And as you mentioned, like I moved from one thing to the next really quickly. And that's part of it. My manifest yourself is like finding one thing that works for me then, and then moving on to it when it no longer feels good.
Yeah, because we're both manifestors, correct? If
I
I'm
believe so,
remembering
yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. Manifesting 1/3, something like that. What is
Mm-hmm.
it?
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
I don't remember everything. I need to go back and listen to that for sure.
Yeah.
Because I was telling somebody about it not too long ago, and how amazing that was. So I need to go find it and re-listen and make sure I'm still staying congruent with my human design.
And it's interesting too, each time you go back to it as well, I'll say, you get a different glimpse of it because you're at a different state of being at that point in time. So you'll resonate with it differently this time you listen to it.
Yeah, well, one of the things I do remember that you shared with me, because I've always felt like, I suffered from shiny object syndrome, and I would start things and not finish and move over here and do this. And then one of the things that you shared with me was with my human design, that was perfectly okay. That was normal part of my human design process. And I shared a little bit about that kind of thing this morning, not the human design part, but the fact that I was constantly moving from one thing to the other. And at one point, I thought that was a limiting belief before we had talked, right? Because I had been told at one point, I don't know why you're going to college, because you won't finish. And then sure enough, I didn't. And then I did this and didn't finish that. And so I started thinking, oh my gosh, I don't finish things. What is that about? And then when we talked, and it was like, that's just part of your human design thing. It's not a flaw, it's a gift. I thought, oh, a gift? Holy smokes, I've been missing out on this forever. So if anybody's curious about human design, it will definitely, if you have somebody good to do this with, they will give you so many insights about your personality that sometimes, I know for me, I would actually condemn myself for so many different kinds of things that I did. And through talking to you and looking at my human design, it was actually things that were amazing that I did. And, not everybody can do it. And it was like, wow, I loved it.
Ah. It's so funny how we get into this box of being like, this is the way that life should be. And it's
Yeah.
like X plus Y equals Z, and like this is how we do life. But in reality, we're all individuals and we all live individual lives. And the more that we understand ourselves, the more that we can be able to bring more compassion, understanding, and work with ourselves in the best way possible.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to write your book?
Oh, about a year,
Okay.
roughly, through editing and everything too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you had was it self-published or you had a publisher? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
self-published. So it's on Amazon. Self-published.
Self-published?
Yeah.
Okay. So was that part hard?
Initially, yes. It's like, I have no idea how to do this. I don't know what I needed. But once you get into the system and figure, like, now I know what you need to do and put it together, and it's pretty easy. But initially it was like this daunting thing. And so now it's not too bad. Once you do it first time, you'll be good.
Yeah. Well, I have one thing published on Amazon, and it is a journal. And so I had so many issues with getting the formatting down to share it. I ended up having to get help with someone, and it was the easiest little fix, but I just didn't know how to do it. And that's when I realized that probably so many things that I don't know how to do are really easy if I just had somebody or a little tweak, to stretch it out. And like this earlier today, I had sent my coach a message and I said, I'm trying to get these emails where they automatically go into MailChimp from this thing that I'm doing over here, and I can't seem to do it. Do you know how to do it? Well, then a little bit later, I went in once I did a little bit of relaxation and everything, went back in, tried it again, and it was like, oh, it was so easy. So I sent her a message and said, okay, I got it done. Sorry.
Right, exactly.
But I don't you find that sometimes things seem so like, and then it's just some little simple tweak. Sometimes it's just tweaking how you're thinking about it, right?
Yes, or giving it time and space. I have had issues with my headphones. Wearing headphones, so it reminds me connecting to my phone. Just like for some odd reason it won't connect. And my go-to when it doesn't work for technology or like hardware things is go to my husband and be like, fix this, please. And like within a second, he's got it done. And I'm like, I did the same thing and it didn't work. But you just got to have a different touch with it all sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when you mention the headphones, because I have some headphones and it's like I would put them on and one would connect and one wouldn't. And it would be dead. It was like, because when you put it in the charger, it would say it was charged, but nothing. And I was about ready to just throw the damn things away, to be honest with you. And I'll just go buy some new ones. And I thought, wait a minute, I think I heard my sister telling me something about this cleaning process and everything. So I got my Q-tips out, I got my alcohol out, I cleaned them, I cleaned the case, and I did all that. And now they work perfect. So it's like, I sure am glad I didn't just toss them and spend another $150 on some headphones,
Right.
when those work perfectly fine. Now it's great.
Yeah, together we make a better world for sure.
That's right. That's right. And being open and listening to what other people tell you and being able to bring it up in a moment, it's like, well, wait a minute, what can I do here? And so I think your book, because of the things that you were just talking about with it, I think that's probably a great thing to be a gap filler for when you're trying to figure out a lot of this stuff and you don't have the time or the money to hire a coach or something. Then you can read the book, and then if you have problems after that, then you reach out. Is that what you advise people, or how do you do that?
Yeah, I made it as a resource for individuals who are maybe not ready for a coach or just want to do some research for themselves or learn an easy entrance point, knowing that something was off. They wanted more from life in a way. And so made it for those individuals who are ready to take that step. Because some people, coaching is not accessible for them for one reason or another.
Right.
So I wanted to make a resource, and especially because I saw the same things over and over again. It's like, yes, I can help people with this all. Yes, I can help individuals, but to help more people, like this is the same thing. So we can just repeat it and put it in a book format for individuals. But yes, if you need more help, if you want more help, there is access out there for you, for coaches, for therapists, for all sorts of different things for you to get the help that you need to with it all. And one of the things that I mentioned in the book is that it's not an end all be all. This is not going to be the one solution that's going to solve it all. There's nothing that is that for us.
Right.
It's really your own internal voice, your power that can change things. And once you tap into that, that's when everything can change. But it's not going to be the end all be all. Nothing is. And so realizing that and understanding that your life is a journey, that this is going to be one step along the way, and it's going to help guide you to listen to yourself more, to understand what it is that you want. And from there, then you can tune into what's next for me. What help do I need? Or do I just need to turn inwards with it all? And it's all okay.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. And the thing that comes up for me as you're saying that is, I have a lot of books. There's a whole bunch over here you can't see. There's some downstairs, there's some in this other room over there. And if you could read one book and get everything, then I would have a shelf with one book on it, because all these different people have ideas that you may not adopt all of their ideas, but when you read the book or you listen to the audio, there's at least one thing that is like, oh, I may have heard that thing 1,000 times, but today, oh man, that really hit home and it resonated. And so to me, it's beautiful to continue to read and to listen, because we all are ever changing. Because I say all the time is, one thing is the constant in life is change. And so who we are right this second to this next second, we're different. And there's so many books that I've read for like the second, the third, fourth time, whatever it is. And each time I read them, it's like somebody has taken and put new words in there that I never saw before. And so I would assume it's probably going to be the same way with your book. You read it once, and then you wait a little bit and you read it again. And it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. And then you take in another piece and you internalize that. And then a little later you read it again and there's something else. And so I think we're continuously, if we're open to it, we're continuously absorbing some new ideas from things that we've already seen. We just didn't notice at the time.
Totally. Yeah. And I love my book as like first reading it to understand it and get an initial grasp of it all, but then using it as a guide of being like, oh yeah, I'm not feeling so worthy today. Like I can dive into that section and get a wake up call to that, and being able to use it for the different things that come up in our lives. Because all the different things I talk about are things that we deal on a daily basis with. And the more that you have tools and resources to go to, the more you can help support yourself.
So what is if you had to give people one piece of advice about them having this belief that they're not worthy, what would that one piece of advice be?
First thing that comes to mind is like, you are worthy. Duh. Like, yes. But like sinking in and realizing that when you're in that state is not feasible, is not possible. When you're not feeling worthy, I'm putting together actually a stress class right now. And one of the things I talk about, putting together a stress class.
Okay.
A class on stress.
All right. You'll have to talk more about that in a minute.
Yes. One of the things I'm talking about in it is the use of distraction, because when we're in a stressed state, when we're in a state of unworthiness, it can be really hard to be like, I'm worthy, I'm happy. And if you do, it's all fake and like not real.
Yeah.
And so one of
your subconscious mind saying bullshit.
Right, exactly. And it's not sinking in, and you're like 5 minutes later, you're like, oh, again. So one of the tools that I mentioned in the stress class is actually about distraction, of distracting yourself from the state of mind, of just allowing yourself to be in a state of mind that is different. So reading a book, watching a show, and making it a little positive. It doesn't have to be like cheery, full, like all the time, but something that's not going to bring you back down. And that will help you to change your state of mind pretty quickly. And by doing that, then you can come back and be like, like I was stressing about that, but that's not as much of a big issue. Just because of our biological responses, our hormones, everything that's going on when you're feeling unworthy, that can be tuned down when you're distracting yourself with a different resource. So from there, then you can come back and be like, okay, like life is actually okay. I'm pretty good here. I'm worthy of that. I can have that.
Yeah. I love that. So tell us a little bit more about this class, and where do you take this class?
Yes, yes. So it's actually going to be a part of a free bundle here soon at the end of July, I believe.
Okay.
So you can grab it there, or else you can grab it on my website if you don't catch it with that. And so it is a class to describe what stress is, realizing and understanding that stress is a biological response of us being human. There's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with you if you are stressed, if you're overwhelmed, it makes sense. And that's one of the things I talk about in the class and how stress actually happens within your body. And then I provide 3 tools to be able to help you to work with that stress. One is that distraction, one is up making a plan for the future, and another is mindfulness too.
Oh, wow. I love that. I love that. So hopefully, we'll have this recorded and out before then, but as soon as you get all that information, we can go back in and add it. So just just be patient, everybody. If it's not the end of July when you're watching this or listening to this, that information is coming. So come back and listen again, get some whole new tips and tricks, and then get the links because it's really important stuff. And especially you're giving that for free. And so that's pretty good. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm excited to get out in the world because, well, the main reason is because stress and anxiety has been something that I've dealt with the for a majority of my life. And
Yeah.
so seeing and understanding that and bringing more understanding to it and being able to teach other people is huge because I know the impact that it can have in your life and how detrimental it can be. And so making it accessible to people is something that I want people to have so they can understand that they're not alone in it. And here's some ways to help cope with it too.
Yeah. So since we've got some time here, and I'm looking at the clock, and and you just mentioned that you had some stressful stuff when you were younger or years ago, however you put it. So do you want to dive in a little bit and just kind of explain what that was and how it affected you so that people can really see that you know exactly what the hell you're talking about, right?
Oh, yes, yes. I've left jobs because I've been stressed. One of them was at a startup where I was doing sales and project management. I couldn't sell because the team wasn't able to get out product. We weren't sure if we're going to go get bought out, or go under. I was over accounting, so I saw the numbers each day. It was very stressful in that way because I couldn't do the work that I needed to do to help propel the company forward. There's nothing I could do. I could just watch it and twiddle my thumbs and be like, oh, I'm watching a couple. I don't know what to do here. So that was really stressful. And it wasn't work that was in alignment for me either. And so that made it even harder. So I got out of that as quickly as I could, applying for jobs, and went to an outdoor company because it's like, I love that outdoors. It's going to be it. It's going to be the final thing for me. Turns out with traffic, taking the public transportation, the work that I was doing, all was not in alignment either. So another stressful thing. The culminating point was when I got a ticket because there was construction in the area and I was just trying to get around it and I was tired and just like done with life, knowing that I'd be in traffic for 2 hours. It's like, no, this is not it. So I actually left to write a book at that point in time, and didn't actually write that book, but
Hmm.
wrote my other one. So yes, those were 2 big points. And then a couple years later, another point where I was in the middle of I was working at a wilderness therapy program. I
A
was
what?
backpacking with a wilderness therapy program,
Okay. Okay.
backpacking with kids working on their therapy outdoors. And for a couple weeks, I was part of a girls group. And the girls triggered me to no end because they would question me, they would doubt me, they would see my goofiness and playfulness and be like, no, like, what are you doing? And I was pretty strict too with them. So I just didn't like me. And then with that too, one of the girls, I was trying to help her. So I was pushing my edges. I'm going to help her. I'm going to help talk her through this. And then the next point in time, she brought me up in front of the group and it was like, Mikkel did all these things. She told me that I can't do this. I can't be this. And at that point, it was a long week. I was just done. Like I broke down. I left the group and I was like, I can't help out. I can't be here. So I cried for hours. I was trying to work through my thoughts and my beliefs because I knew the work. I was like, I just need to change my thoughts and my beliefs and I can change things. But I was so stressed that those weren't sinking in. Nothing was changing.
Yeah.
So I called the management at that point in time and was like, I need to get out. Like I can't be here. I can't do this. So the next day they pulled me out. So yes, stress, anxiety, that's when I knew that like anxiety was a thing for me. And so I talked to therapists and I was able to help to understand what was going on and realize that that environment's probably not the best for me longer term, especially because sleeping outdoors like that takes me a while to get used to it. And so I don't sleep
Yeah.
very well for a bit. So yeah, stress is something that I know very well. And owning my own business, stress comes up, and it's figuring out ways to manage it within my life and what I'm going through in ways that are healthy and productive for myself too. So it's been a journey. I'm better than I have ever been with managing stress, but of course things come up and I'm like, I don't want to. But it's
I
always
feel
coming
you.
back, right? Exactly. It's always a journey of life. The more I push ourselves, the more we feel that. And the more
Yeah.
we can help support ourselves, the better we can be in dealing with it.
Yeah. Well, that just sounds like such a a traumatic thing to be going through with several different things, and then but having the wherewithal to reach out and say, hey, this is just not working for me, because a lot of people feel like when they're in that situation that they have to, this is a have to, and they stay. And the same reason some people stay in relationships that are hell, but it's because I have to, and there's nothing we absolutely have to do. And so it's like, I love that you have a healthy way to turn it around to make it where it's, let me see, how can I work through this and make it better? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. In the first chapter of my book, I talk about everything being a choice. It can be an active choice or an inactive choice. And once we understand that as a choice, then we can take those opportunities and change things for ourselves. But when we see it as we have to do this, we have to move forward in this way, it really inhibits us and what we can do. And I've had to hit rock bottom several times to learn this and to grow from it. But the sooner we can see that, the sooner we can step out of things that are really costing us a lot of anguish in our lives.
Yeah, I agree. And there's probably not a person alive that doesn't deal with stress and anxiety at some level, some more than others, because I don't know, there are some people, it seems that they can just let stress and anxiety just kind of wash over them and it's gone. And then there's others that it's just like it stays right here in their face and their body. And so it's just everybody does it differently. And however you're doing it, anybody that's watching or listening, that's perfectly normal for you, and that's okay. But if it's not serving you, then it's time to get the book and learn how to manage it in a much more productive way. Because like you said that about the choices, and I'll share, I dated a guy one time many years ago, and I would grate his nerves because I was happy about it all the time. It's like I woke up and it was like, hey, I'm glad to be here, kind of thing. And then I would be that throughout. And then if something comes up, he would say, you've got on rose-colored glasses. And I said, no, I said, I've just got on the glasses I'm supposed to wear. And he said, I don't get it. How can you just be happy? And I said, how can you not? I just couldn't understand it. And he said, well, you don't understand. This happens and this happens and this happens. And I'm not saying that people that are depressed are not depressed. I'm just saying that, does it feel good to stay in that locked in place or not? And if it doesn't, then it's do something to get out of that place. And we ended up not seeing each other much longer after that, because he just could not wrap his head around that you could choose to be happier. And I said, I'm not saying that you have to go from total, I've got my emotional wheel over here. Let me just tell you, you couldn't go from fear all the way to hopefulness in one swoop, because fear is number 22 and hopefulness is 6. So you can't slide up there to that. But I think it's giving ourselves permission to just go up a couple of steps. So like on this one, fear is 22. Well, jealousy is 20. So if you start feeling jealous about something, you've actually gone up a little bit. I love this emotional scale. It just makes things so simple for me. So when I'm saying choose to be happy, It doesn't mean that you have to be jolly and, and laughing and all of that stuff. It just means move up just a little, change that energy just a little. Don't you agree?
Yes. It's interesting. One thing that comes up is within the retreat, there was this, well, oftentimes within my meditations in general too, there's this point where I'm sobbing. I'm like overwhelmed with emotions. And like either it's like accepting a new belief and being like, oh my goodness, like this is life, this is what I can have, or it's releasing something negative and be like, that's like, I'm done with that, I'm over it. But afterwards, I oftentimes laugh because like that emotion has moved through and it made space for something bigger. And when the group meditations, one of them I laughed like out loud and everyone heard me. And it was interesting because later in the meditation, we all laughed. We all broke out of
Yeah,
laughter.
beautiful. It's so great. That's a beautiful release, right?
Right? Exactly. It is. It was so funny too, because Joe Dispenza afterwards was like, okay, that was fun and good. And like, you guys had a good time, but next to meditation, you're not laughing. Like, it's not that. So that was so funny. But yeah, coming back to this idea of like raising up the ranks of our emotions when we're at, one of the things that I see is the unacceptance of seeing, feeling, and understanding the emotions of what we're feeling right now. If we don't understanding how we're feeling, then we can't move up. Then we're kind of stuck with where we're at.
Right.
So the more that you can actually feel the emotions of where you're at, that can release that emotion and allow you to move through. One of the ways that I love to do that is through music and dance. If you're
Okay.
up for moving your body with it all, but music itself can allow you to tap into that emotion and actually feel it, because that emotion is holding you onto the past. And once you're able to release it, then you can move on.
Yeah, I love that. Let me write this down because I definitely need to be putting a little bit more music in my life.
Mhm.
And it's funny because one of the things I talk about all the time is that life is like musical notes and we can grab the notes, that we want and it creates our symphony. But for some reason, what you just said hit me in a totally different way. So thank you. And that's what I say all the time about, like I said, reading the book and the next time you read it, you hear something else. I may have heard that before.
Mhm.
And the fact that you just said it for some reason just really sparked in me, something about that. But so before we go any further, I want to just ask your opinion about something. Okay.
Mhm.
I know you're not a meditation interpreter. At least I don't think you are, but if you are, that's okay. But I did a meditation the other day and it was the most bizarre thing. Is it okay for me to share for that?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. And everybody that's listening, I mean, don't think I'm crazy or anything. So, anyway, during this meditation, I was sitting outside, I was listening to the birds, I was feeling the wind, and I was getting into this relaxed breathing place, right? And I could just feel my body letting go. And all of a sudden, this visual popped up. It was like this person popped up in my vision, in my field, right here to the right of my head. It was like they were right there. And they had blonde, spiky hair. They were kind of gender non-specific. So I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. Not that it matters. And anyway, they looked at me very stern and they said, "You're just average. Get to the back of the line." And I put my head down in my mind and started to walk away. And I said, wait a minute, wait a minute. I'm not average. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And that figure went, and then turned around and walked away. And they disappeared. And it was like, what the heck? I've never had that happen before. So what do you think? I mean, I don't know, I'm putting you on the spot here, but
Yeah, I think that's like knowing that you're a manifestor, knowing these different things about you totally makes sense, because as manifestors, we're taught to fit into a box, to stay in line, to be average, but in reality, we're not. So I love how you went back and were like, no, like I am not average. I am me and I'm amazing and all these different things. And they walked away. That was probably part of your subconscious coming up and being like, you're average. And you're able to come back and be like, nope, I'm done with that. And one of the things within our brain that neuroscience has been able to show us is that our brain goes to shortcuts for different things. So it may think like, oh, like my work that I'm doing, my being, who I am, I'm average. And it's a shortcut being like, okay, my being, I'm average. And it kind of ties together like a freeway. But we can actually change that. We can snip that highway, make a new one to a path of being like, I'm amazing. And so then that new road is created. And so I know that's what you were doing as you were going through it. You were cutting that synaptic connection and being like, nope, that's not me anymore. I'm driving a new highway to the amazingness of who I am.
Oh, thank you for that. It's like I have pondered over this since I had it because it was just yesterday or the day before. And it's like I just keep seeing that person's face popping right up here in my field of vision, because it was like she was just right there. And this mean look on her face. And then it was like, and then just walked off. Uh, and it just, but it felt good when she did that and walked away. It was like, okay, okay, okay. But I stayed in meditation for a little bit longer after that, and it was like, and I was breathing a little bit calmer and differently. But it was like, I just needed to ask somebody that does this kind of stuff.
Totally. Yeah. It's so funny to be like, feel like you're in your own little world. Be like, I just need to talk this out to someone. Totally understand that.
Yeah. And I've talked to a few people, and they, oh, that's interesting. And it's like, oh, I want more, I want more, I want more.
Totally get that. Yes.
So I'm so glad this happened today so soon after that. So I remembered to mention it to you. So thank you for that. And you do know me pretty well just from all that human design work. So that's pretty cool to me. And I think the world of you because I watch some of the stuff that you do on Facebook and everything. And like I said, you disappeared for a little bit or you disappeared from my feed. It doesn't mean you weren't there. It was like you were suddenly, and I was thinking, where the heck is she? And I ended up going in and going down my friends list and everything and putting your name in to finally see where you were. And it was like, oh, okay, she's here. And that's when then I saw the stuff about the book and everything. And I said, oh, yes, this is beautiful. So thank you so much for being open to coming on here again today. And like I told everybody in the, as you're watching or listening, that I'm going to have all the links in the comments, and I'm going to make sure that I get the link to the podcast that she was on before so that you can kind of hear how well she navigates through the human design and helps. Like she was so helpful. You were so helpful with helping me see things about myself, like I was talking about with the leaving things and using that as a flaw. And you helped me see that it wasn't a flaw. And there was so many other little things that you pulled out of that human design thing that was like so eye-opening and just made me feel more in tune with who I am instead of feeling like I was a foreign body kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. Yeah. When I first heard about it and leaned into it, I was like, thank you. Thank you so much. Nothing's wrong with me. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. So that response right there was just perfect.
Right.
So thank you so much for being here with me today and sharing your expertise. But before we go, is there any one thing that you want to make sure that we talk about today that I haven't brought up?
One thing that I will mention is that mention stress in human design, and there's actually a energy center within human design. Human design has energy centers similar to chakras, and one of them is your root, and that one's all based on stress. And so individuals can have that open or closed, which means they know how to handle stress a little bit better or they don't. And that can give you a little bit more permission to understand it and see that you have gifts in different ways too. So that might be something if you do have a little bit more stress to check out and see what that can mean and interpret for you. I have a class online that goes into that a little bit more, or you can just Google it. So that's one thing I did want to mention.
Okay. Beautiful. Well, thank you for that. And yesterday I had a master class, and the meditation that I took them through was a grounding where the roots are going from your feet into the earth. And so that was beautiful. And that was one of the things it was about stress and how we're showing up in life and to be more grounded. So thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. And so Like I said, I appreciate so much you being here, and I want everybody that's watching or listening, make sure that you check her out in every place that she is, and I will have the links there. And, and tell her hello, tell her that, you saw her or you heard her on the podcast, and just let her know that her words meant something to you, because she always lightens me up a little bit, sometimes a lot more, but always at least a little bit, and with every conversation. So I appreciate you. And so I want to end today with one of my favorite quotes, and it's, the best way to predict the future is create it. And with that said, see you soon. Mwah.